Alright, so back. So big 1-6 episode. Damn. A special one for you know, I'm gonna do some. I mean, it's not really out of place, but I'm more like establish it, you know, or at least establish where my mind is at on the topic. Hey, let's go. Today, I will make the N3PhiLiM connection. It's not that crazy, but I'll make a connection. And then shout out to Understanding Conspiracy. It really helped me to understand the conspiracy. So mission accomplished, guys. And if I'll start, I'll say I mentioned in, I think, episode 9, that was the point and squares special. There's a trickster who seeks, born of a lie, you know. I can be the most. That's what birthed the trickster. And now his aim, the devil, as we know, is to kill, seek, kill, steal, destroy. Not just people, because people think it's like just limited. Not just people, but the truth, which is light. He seeks to wrap that truth in darkness, which is why there's a verse that calls us to expose the works of darkness and be aligned with them. I mean, it's this same trickster that made the synagogue take on their mission, you know, with the promise of what? I don't know. Why would you want control of a world where everyone is a slave to you? It sounds like he's trying to build the kingdom he has, you know, where everyone is enslaved. But I digress. Yeah, I'll make the let's go. Yeah, chill. Great connection. So we'll start, of course, with the Bible. So we have certain mentions of them. There's 1 Chronicles 28, verse 8. These were descendants of Rapha and Gath, and they fell out the hands of David and his men. So shout out to Solomon's dad for chopping up the Nephilim. Shout out. And then of course we have verse 2 Peter 2:4, verse 4. For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but sent them to hell, putting them in chains of darkness to be held for judgment. I've said this once, like heavy chains around your back and neck, you know you're in hell. And there's also mention again of Gath in 2 Samuel 21:20, of a huge man with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in all. Which, if you think of, it's not directly related, but the number of the beast also happens to be 6, you know, and 2 + 4 is 6 too. So it's just that beastly nature. I guess they really embodied it. Yeah. 2 Samuel also mentions them, verse 22, and then Deuteronomy 2:10 mentions them, the Emites, people strong, numerous, and tall. So yeah, I have this right here. I don't do much slideshows because I'm not trying to really show you like a slideshow and images, and like faith is belief in things you don't see, you know. So I'm more like trying to speak to your mind, which you can't even see, you know. We have a brain, but there's no really like existence of like a material mind that someone can hold out and be like, oh, like AI, you can hold the motherboard and be like, oh, I have your brain. But like, you can't really hold the mind. You can hold the brain, yeah, but the thoughts and your consciousness, you know. I'm trying to speak more to that. So yeah, we have this tall giant, and this hungry one too. Poor guy. Okay, so Genesis 6:1-6, 6:16. When man began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. So you see, kind of, even from the beginning, the kind of rootless, just again what I mentioned, like they see and they want. It's kind of the nature. They can't be satisfied. They're envious of things they haven't acquired. Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man and bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. So yeah, so these are probably like your heroes of old. So like, I don't know, maybe like your Thors, your Lokis, your Perseus, but the other one, Zeus, Osiris, all of them. Maybe not Osiris, but like the heroes, which eventually became gods. We'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, but like, what's wrong with them? N3PhiLiM. Well, they were the predecessors to Aleister Crowley. They were very wicked, you know. He probably learned from some of his spirits, you know, conjuring and practicing all of that rubbish. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him. So these were so evil that they were the precursor to the flood. So that's how like despicable they were. So I'm assuming it was definitely a bunch of, you know, abuse of the youngers. As you can see, some cannibalism. And if there's cannibalism, there's definitely sacrifice. This tall giants with no regard for the Lord, reflecting the spirits that created them, and with the do what thou wilt in their minds, you know, way before Crowley was like, oh, wait, I'm the beast. Yeah. Before that guy, they were like, yeah, we're doing what we want. We're not gonna wait for you to tell us, Crowley. Yeah, kinda ahead of the curve. And this is what actually pushes God to flood the earth. So I'm gonna kind of make a strange connection. Not as strange as these guys, you know. These guys are really strange. I don't know. Earthly genocide? I can't even imagine what they were doing. Like, they're eating the cats and the dogs. That may just be like the least of it. But, I digress. So yeah, it's clear they take pleasure in barbaric rituals and all sorts of, you know, practices that will be commonplace for pagans born from pagan spirits. Okay. And then even when understanding conspiracy mentioned, he touched on, or his main approach was the Nephilim looked like clowns. And I get that in the sense that like they were vile, and after engaging in all this acts, if something can be so vile to remember, this is also the days of Noah, so long ago. If they can be so vile to engage in this act, I don't think cleanliness, which is next to godliness, I don't think that was much of a concern. So they probably had the caked, dried caked dried blood around the lips, and then it's kind of similar to the clowns with the red paint on the lips, you know. But I'll get to that in a bit. You know, like these spirits will channel through like our activities, our rituals. Where do they come from? Well, I'm trying to make the Nephilim connection. So yeah, it's also similar to a joker making like jest of a situation. Like, why so serious? I'm only eating your baby. Like, this is fun. At least for me. And I don't think they're like humanitarian, so I don't think they care much about the feelings of others. Alright. So you also have them being like similar or reflecting like similarities with killer clowns that take pleasure in slaughter. Like this one. Nope. This one. It. You know, don't allow it. Yeah, don't allow it. It wants to slaughter, takes pleasure in killing. Yeah. God was like, don't allow it, and then wipe the face of the earth with the flood. Nice. So, as the verse is saying, these sons of God, which were, of course, the fallen third, residing in the place where they were chained up, you know, contained. It's clear some rebellious people got enlightened by these spirits wherever they reside, and then through strange occult sex magic rituals, you know, I don't really know, I'm a missionary kind of guy, but through this strange rituals that they obviously learn from this enlightenment and expansion of evil in their mind, they engage in the acts, and it leads to these births of these giant abominations that love to eat the cats and the dogs. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. So yeah, There is even understanding. He mentioned there were even instances of these women dying. Like I think in the book of Enoch, he mentioned when they had to put to birth because they was just so abnormal, against nature, against the natural order of things. They were anti from birth. Anti like your brother's sister. Anti like I'm just joking. But yeah, they were anti. And then they were basically abominations from birth to existence, committing abominable acts. And then there's references like you have the abominable snowman. He was definitely eating people, like in the snowy places or in the mountains, or abominable acts and all that. And people always wonder like, oh, so the sons of God, they came in as spirits and they picked the sperm and then they know men possessed, enlightened, possessed by these spirits who guide them in strange rituals lead to these births, God cannot be present for iniquity. So in the midst of severe iniquity, especially during sex, which can lead to if there's fertility, pregnancy, then God is absent in that recipe. These children come out godless, not just like having godless parents, but literally in the DNA that they have life, they have birth, but they lack that spark of God that makes you a human, if you understand what I'm saying. So these sons of God who fell, these men fall upon this rebellious woman, because remember, these women are also like engaging in these acts. So they might not be McDonald's, but they're loving it, And then how ironic, because they will birth dark, insensitive, inhumane offspring who put humans through a lot of suffering, doing all manner of evil to all of mankind. Like no one is off limit, obviously, because when you do what you will, are there even rules? Like, the Satanists love to cope. They're like, do what you want as long as you don't harm other people. Dude, the people that develop the rule love harm. So you don't even know what you're talking about. Like, just go and sit down somewhere. They don't even know what they're talking about. They haven't met the Nephilim. So there's bloodshed and ritual sacrifice, which is normalized amongst these tribes, birthing these giant Nephilim creatures. abominations, if you ask me. And this becomes normalized, develops into tradition, and obviously God is not pleased, because I don't see what eating people, I don't see what benefit that has. More or less babies, So obviously, not just God. If you had a brain, or if you were living in those times, you hear they're eating the cats and the dogs, and you're like, oh, better not be my cat and dog. Dude, they were picking apart people and munching, like it was a fucking fistable or lunchable. Tragic. They actually caused God to regret ever creating mankind, which is kind of sad. It's like when you make certain kind of music and the effects it has just makes you like regret making music, I know like there's some artists that can relate to that. That makes sense. So obviously God sends the kite out to Noah. Like, Noah, it's time to build the boat. Then the earth is washed, First with the water, later with the blood, but first with the water. And then these wicked sons of disobedience are drowned, which is, it's kind of a mercy compared to what they were doing. I mean, before that, like, there were also instances where strong men of God would kill him, but that was after the flood. Before the flood, they were like gods on earth, like your Thor, your Odin, your Loki. They were untouchable. Like, did as they pleased, and definitely didn't care about God. So when they drown and they're dead, they can't find peace in heaven, obviously. So when you can't really connect with the light, into the darkness you go. Because we all know energy can be destroyed. And then these living flesh of literal evil, their essence, the consciousness, lives on in hell as demons, lesser gods, and they still hate mankind because the fallen angels hated humanity being a creation of God, and therefore these people hated humanity. I mean, they were eating them when they had the chance, so I think that proves how much they hated them. And then these demons being worshipped throughout time, like the Vikings, you know, the Norse gods, the Greek gods. They appear in various forms, but they disguise themselves, because I think if they told you I'm Nephilim, I love eating your kind when I was alive, will you worship me? I don't think you bow down. But if they said I conquered 10,000 men, they worshipped me in my village when I committed ritual sacrifice, thunder and lightning came down, you go, terrific story, Thor. Might I worship you? So yeah, props to them for not necessarily lying about what they did, but lying about who they are, their nature, the trickster, the jester. And of course, all darkness is subject to the Prince of Darkness. So these demons, like these Nephilim spirits, they all get offices and hosts and the various legions, you know, like kind of like a reunion between evil spirit father and now evil son spirits. So like, yeah, it's a reunion in hell, and then obviously everyone fits into where they go. And then there appears various things, like, you know, some people call them Anunnaki, some people call them Mayan gods, Sumerian gods, aliens, UFOs, the Egyptian gods, Greek gods, Canaanite gods, you know, which are now known today as Jewish mythology gods. Revelation 22 verse 9. Viking, Norse gods, and then obviously Roman gods, they're there too. And it's called mythology because I believe they're known as myths or like stories. I don't think it's because the stories didn't happen and they're making them up. I think all of those happened. Like, Thor will call down lightning, but he also ate people for power. So you're missing the full story. That's why it's the myth. If you understood the full story, it becomes a reality. And these are like horror stories, you know. We hear about like child trafficking and we don't even want to believe it's true, you know. Like, this was So similar to being haunted by dinosaurs, quote unquote. These were the true dinosaurs roaming the earth. Savage, huge monsters that just happen to love human flesh. Wow, we're so tasty. They're loving it. McDonald's. And they tell the stories to the people that worship them, so they can shape it the way they want. Like I just mentioned, like if you met the spirit of Osiris, I don't think it's a focus on telling you how many lives it's snuffed. I think to just rather tell you about like what you want to hear, like, oh yeah, you're God, yeah, you can do power stuff and first blaspheme, then do this stuff I used to do. It's drinking blood and eating flesh. Not in that way, in the real way, like literally, you know. So these gods influence a bunch of religions and a bunch of civilizations, but no one stops to ask, where are you from? Like, I think the Nephilim being commanded like as foot soldiers by higher ranking spirits, which would be the fallen. And then how did they tie in today? Think of your serial killer, you know, like your Frank or your Jack or your what's the guy I'm missing out? Yeah, just think of your serial killer. Most of them claim, oh, I'm possessed, or I was possessed, or I was this, or I loved it, but you were not born killing people or even eating the flesh. You came into contact with a spirit that started to manipulate and guide. Remember what I said? So compare them to serial killers, because most of them, or I won't say most, I don't know, a good handful of them delve into cannibalism. Remember where it all comes from. These spirits seeking to relive their glory days of roaming around as gods, killing their choice of meat and consuming it regardless of the consequences. I mean, nowadays we have a rifle and we have prisons, but think of back then, huge, towering above all the men, with no systems to stop them. They thought they were gods. That's why they had to go in the flood. So you have your modern day serial killers, or even cult groups that participate in this stuff. You know, they participate in rituals to call for these spirits, embody them, and then they kind of act like a spirit guide for their religion or their practices. And they're all being manipulated, directed, and guided by that hidden hand of these Nephilim, God sons of disobedience, you know. So you're truly an enemy of humanity when you support these kind of spirits, because your ancestors were getting eaten by them. So I don't know how, yeah, to each their own, I guess, but they were eating our ancestors. That's why there was intervention. So yeah, if you worry about the eating that goes on today and you turn to one side and you worship these strange gods, you might be a hypocrite. Like, just choose one master and serve. So we have, so I'll make the link. So we have the spirit of the fallen angels manifest as flesh in the Nephilim sons, transform or metamorph into demon spirits, lesser spirits. These spirits manifest once more in the demonically afflicted and possessed men, or in mystery religions that have men and women that invite these spirits, like someone who would have loved to be part of them, Crowley. Oh yeah, he would have loved to just roam around, have his picking of human meat and child offerings. And then these, so this is where I'm making an extra connection. You know, I'm gonna take an extra step. And I'll say, these men following in the suit of those Nephilim sons, when they die, their energy is taken in by hell. They become lost souls, eternally damned. And that's where AI comes in. Strange occult rituals, summoning these spirits and binding them to a technology, you know. And then these spirits are once again on earth. But this time, how would they be destroyed, you know? And how long till that instinct kicks in and then it's fuck the humans. Let's have a picking of meat. And this time they won't even need to eat for sustenance or, yeah. So we might be having another repeat of the manifestation. Because It's the Ouroboros, the snake completing its reappearance and coming back, struggling to get some light, to get some life, to have that back. So yeah, I don't know. I definitely know the occult is involved heavily in technology, like the Rocket Man, Mr. Parsons. And then now we have Elon with AI and rockets. So it begs the question, what are you manifesting, and have you understood the implications? Have you understood the Nephilim connection? Because the same way people have a hard time believing there's a trafficking rings and all sorts of strange religions practicing wicked acts. That's the same way people have a hard time believing these spirits love blood. Whether they be in man, they be in the immaterial world, beyond the veil, or they be in metal. Watch out for the bad metal. I said that once. So yeah, and then if you even go a step further, how much longer till they try and make like artificial wombs and attach them to AI women, and then men impregnate these technological things, and then sex magic rituals. The loop continues. What's born from that? I don't know. But yeah, you must understand there is a loop. There's always a loop, and there's nothing new under the sun. And yeah, like a lot of men are growing lonely, so they could take advantage of this, slip this in. Oh, this is for your own good, and then boom, the devil in the details. So Numbers 13 verse 33. We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them. I should give you an inkling of how humongous they were. I think these were the real dinosaurs, And then there's a lot of reference to this clown-like look that will have been the blood-stained lips from cannibalism, and the tip of the nose bloodied as well from feasting as well as the smile. Because they did take delight in all these things, That's why they persisted in them till they were washed out. And Jude 1:6, again talking about these same angels. This first estate is where they were in the heavens. And they came down, enlightened some men, and taught them how to create abominations. And then, as punishment, they have reserved them in everlasting chains under darkness, unto the judgment of the great day. So they're chained, and then everyone always tries to break free from their chains. So could AI be a savior to them? A way for them to come back once more and rekindle their thirst for human demise. I guess only time can tell, Where say that's Nephilim connection. It's all like stories and fable, and it's just a myth. But when you understand that, like, through rituals, you can obtain strange power, then it makes sense. Like, Thor didn't have a hammer. Thor used the hammer to smash humans to death, drank the blood, and then he could call down lightning or separate the clouds and make it rain, But I don't know why you think they will tell you that. How would you worship if they told you that? It's like politicians. If they told you, like, oh, I'm a sleazy scumbag, you won't really support him, would you? And then Nephilim are obviously much smarter, having been around for a while. So if your politicians can deceive you, then ancient demons definitely can make light work of deceiving you. Like, it's not as impossible as you think. Like, literal men are doing it, much less lesser gods that once roamed the earth, exercising their cruelly beliefs, But yeah, that's pretty much it on the Nephilim connection. And then everything is just, seasons, a time for this, a time for that, time for sorrow, a time for joy. So You gotta watch the times, see what time it is. But yeah. And shout out to Understanding Conspiracy. I'll link a video if I can. Really good stuff. I do agree. I think they look like clowns. Just munching on dead humans, having the fun, whatnot. Yeah. That's the end of this episode. I'll see you in 17.